A Nephilim spider joining the monsoon banquet. She's caught a tiger butterfly. And he is utterly toxic. Butterfly predators need to learn this.
So you all have caught me in the middle of guild business. We'll be right back to you in a second. Yeah, so keep those hands high really quickly. If you're a noob, if you're looking to get into the cybersecurity industry, if you feel like you're stuck, take a look at who's got their hand in the air really quickly and approach that person. Because the magic of the temple is it's a choose your own adventure. It is literally choose your own adventure. You can choose for your experience at the temple to be whatever you want, And especially if you are a noob, if you're a new person to the industry, or if you're a new person to hacking, or a new person to cybersecurity, or shoe tying, or whatever the hell we want to call this thing, and you feel like you're hitting a wall, or you feel like you're unprepared to go to work, or you feel like you don't understand something. I don't understand. I understand less of the layer 1 of the OSI model than I thought. Like, I'm really getting into the weeds of low voltage differential signaling and all this stupidity. Yeah, right? Nerds. Right now, I'm looking for somebody who understands all that stuff better than I do. So that way, I have somebody I can reach out to. So if you've never passed your OSCP before, if you're still looking to get that first job, if you don't know what you want to do, find those people who put their hands up. Folks, if you put your hands up one more time, take a look around the room, look for those people, and talk to them. Otherwise, choose your own adventure, because at the end of the day, nobody cares more about your career than you do. Because I already have a job, and it's sometimes fun. Yeah, right. So, we are in my favorite month of the year, Prepper Month. And the reason I love Prepper Month so much is it differentiates the temple from other gaggles, from other groups, from other people who have the same hobby, in the sense that we all know each other, we're all friends, and this is a community. And I think this is something good that we've built, that it is a community of like-minded people who may not all believe the same thing, but we want the same thing, and that is to perfect our craft and to make good friends and have a good time. And that's, at the end of the day, what the temple is. And part of that is building your inner circle and reacting to life. Life doesn't give a crap whether you are prepared, whether you're unprepared, how many pallets of water you have in your garage. For anybody who's lived in Florida for more than 8 months, I think, since the last hurricane, you know that if you are not prepared for hurricane season, for tornadoes, for anything for extreme heat, for whatever comes to you, then you're going to suffer, and you're going to be waiting in line with all of those other people who also didn't prepare, fist fighting over water, not being able to fill up at the pump. Who remembers COVID? I'm definitely old enough to remember COVID. Yeah, right? I watched people with my own 2 eyes have fist fights over toilet paper. And that's without a hurricane, that's without a hurricane coming to us. I watched people fist fight over hand sanitizer. And it especially going through COVID while the temple was being built, because the temple's only been around for a couple years. We started up in the middle of COVID. It definitely makes me grateful that I know that I can make a phone call to somebody within my group, that's somebody that I know at the temple, and if I need something, they'll be there. That if somebody has spare of something and I need it, I can ask them for it, and there won't be any fistfights. And again, we're not a cult. We super duper promise we're not a cult, because we don't do cult activities, and typically if you look at Clearwater, then certain... I didn't even make the joke, come on. I was going to say, if you look at Clearwater, cults typically have more money than we do, so yeah. But we're making it do with what we've got. So welcome to week 1 of Prepper Month. Prepper Month this time because, unfortunately, my employer took me for the first 2 weeks out to go do a pen test and go do other fun activities in 150-degree heat. It sucked. Prepper Month's going to be a little different this year. Hopefully we'll nail that down better next year. That normally Prepper Month starts in the very beginning of June when hurricane season starts. And we do that for a couple reasons, and we're going to get into that tonight. But unfortunately, we're 2 weeks shy, and instead, Prepper Month is only going to be going for 3 weeks instead. Next week, we're going to be talking about ham radio. Hopefully, we will have more people coming out of this month with their ham radio technician license than we had coming in. Out of curiosity, who here has a technician license or above? Okay, that's fun and exciting. Who wants their ham radio license? Okay. Really? Nobody else wants? Okay. Well, hope. Yeah, right. Well, hopefully we can because I do believe everybody should have a ham radio license. Hopefully with what we do next week, which we are going to be discussing ham radio, I'm going to be handing out some study packets, and we are going to be going from soup to nuts on how to ham radio. And hopefully at that point, it will motivate some people to want to get licensed and show people the fun of radioing, because that's what I did when I was in the military. I was a radio guy, and I wish I'd paid attention more when I was doing stuff with the government's dime, because now radio stuff, the high speed radio stuff is really freaking expensive. If you thought hacking was an expensive hobby, wait till you take a look at radioing. Yeah, so we'll be talking about that, and then we will be ending Prepper Month with discussing Meshtastic. And that's what I'm stoked for. Now, the beauty, and a lot of people who are not in the Neon Temple ask, why do I need to pay dues? Well, in 3 weeks, we're going to see why we pay dues. We will be giving out Meshtastic nodes for free. So, like Trey said, whenever he put that call out there, tell him that you want one, because I think we're going to order those within the next week or so. We'll order the cases for them too, and you just take one home as a part of the dues that you pay to the temple, and that allows us to do that. So thank you for paying dues. That's really cool of you. So yeah, so that third week that we close out with, it'll be a talk about Meshtastic. Hopefully we can start getting a mesh of temple guild members around the Tampa Bay area. Unfortunately, DM lives out in Grady Juddville, so if things happen, just send a carrier pigeon or something. I'm sorry. Yeah, smoke signals, carrier pigeon. Tiff can send a lizard with a note on its back or something.
I could definitely not go surreptitiously plant a couple of nodes between here and there so we can get it.
So that's something we're talking about.
That's motivation for him to get his ham license.
Yeah, that's actually motivation to get his ham license.
I don't need any more. I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay. So tonight, we're going to be talking just kind of the intro of Prepper Month, because whenever I talk about prepping or being a prepper, everybody automatically assumes that I am stockpiling ammo and preparing for the zombie apocalypse and reading Siege or whatever the hell. And no, I'm not. I will shoot anybody on sight that does, but yeah. That's not what we're about here at the temple. Again, no Nazis, no commies. That's the rule. And everyone else is fine. No Nazis, no commies. Yeah, if everyone else is fine. That's been a rule at the temple since like 2018, 2019. No Nazis, no commies. I'll say that the third time. Yeah. Those were good times. And hopefully we. Yeah. Wait. I think I missed something. Okay, Chris got me again. That's fine. I don't know what he got me. Anyways, okay. So speaking of which, can you show everybody the hat really quick?
This one?
Yeah, Marble Heart.
Yeah.
Here, do you want the mic? Here.
Sure.
Can people buy that hat?
Not yet, but I'm doing like a whole series of like how far can I get without infringing on copyright. Like that's the whole, like it's a whole apparel line of like
See you last season.
yeah, how far can we push it without infringing, right? So yeah. Anyway, that's it.
No satire. So the thing with Prepper Month is it's not about stockpiling ammo. It's not about preparing for the zombie apocalypse. It's about having common sense. We are Floridians. We know hurricanes come once a year, and at least once a year. Yeah, at least once a year hurricanes come, and you don't want to be that person either SOL or fist fighting somebody for a case of water, because we're all smarter than that. Why? I don't understand why people wait until the last minute. Now, before we get into that, there's one announcement that I want to make. So my boy Zumo has been here, if you're cool with that, if you want to come up. So we've been planning something, maybe for the last 2 weeks or so. We're bringing something to y'all Wednesday nights, and I think it's going to be fun. Zumo, Semper Yad.
Hey guys, I'm Zumo. I recognize a lot of you. For those that I didn't talk to earlier, some of you came to I know you, came to my talks at B-Sides Tampa and St. Pete. But yeah, a couple weeks ago, I posted on LinkedIn. We did a CTF for threat hunting CTF, at B-Sides Tampa this year, and wanted to get more involved. I lived in Tarpon Springs, So I'm pretty close by, and I am the director of CTI at a company called Cyber6Go who does threat intel. So I can do whatever I want, and we have our own platform. And basically, we wanted to take the CTF here. When I posted on LinkedIn, John reached out, and I said, yeah, let's absolutely do it. So we're putting together the details, but the first class for sure is we'll do a kind of like a tour of the dark web a little bit first. Some of you might have actually seen that 2 years ago. And then we're going to just get you guys access to the tool and do some real threat hunting with like a premium tool that like enterprises use and stuff. And then from there, if it's interesting, we got some other content that we were thinking about today that we could make happen pretty easily for you guys. So, sounds good?
And when is it?
24th?
July.
July 24th. We're going to do it here. Only requirement is bring a laptop. That's all I need you guys to do. Otherwise, you're going to have to,
That's on a Wednesday, though, right?
on a Wednesday.
It's on a Wednesday on
Yeah.
purpose. This is not guild night.
No point of sale machines.
Yeah.
He's watching.
Yeah, unfortunately.
If it goes over,
Say again?
Still again, 7?
We're gonna figure out the time. Just block the day down.
Yeah.
If it goes over,
I think we were thinking like 6 or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
it'll be content that happens on a Wednesday. So if you can't make it out Thursday, come on a Wednesday or come on both nights. Just more content for you guys to enjoy.
Yeah.
And once we start posting announcements, if like you can't make it for some reason, we'll set up some line of communication where I could set you guys up. You could do it remotely. It's not a big deal. So, cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah. So that was definitely something that we've been talking about for the last couple weeks. I definitely want to start touching on how to build a persona, how to do things safely whenever you're out on the dark net. And yeah, luckily I've got a kindred spirit here in Zumo, so yeah, I'm really excited for this. This is just another thing, not only that's coming to the temple, but we're bringing the community into this too. This is kind of.
Do we have a name yet?
Not yet. Not yet. I think we're gonna do the event first, and then kind of see what it turns into, and then see how we want to brand it. But yeah, this is kind of the temple's gift to the community. We're gonna hopefully open the doors to the community at large and really set this place up into like a really cool place to work. I'm gonna talk to Rab about setting up the net to where we can put everybody on one VLAN that automatically calls out to a proxy on DigitalOcean or Linode or something, so that way there's less chance of spillage. And yeah, do it safely, have some fun, and show everybody why you'd want to make a career out of that, because that's what you do. Yeah, so Zumo's a CTI bubba. His sole existence is running around on the darknet and seeing what some of these incels are saying. And when I say incels, I mean they're really cool, friendly people. Please don't ruin my life. So, moving into Prepper Month, who here can do me a favor and pull up the Google definition? Oh, by the way, I really encourage everybody to have something to take notes, something to write down, because I'm going to be asking you some hard-hitting questions. I'm going to be throwing some links out there. I'll try and throw them in the Discord afterwards, but this is definitely going to be less of a talk and more of us interacting and all of us coming up with a plan. The end goal of tonight is we have something that looks like a Neon Temple semi-official hurricane preparedness list, because yes, FEMA puts out stuff. Yes, the Florida Disaster Preparedness Shop puts out stuff. Yes, Pasco, Pinellas, Hillsborough counties all put stuff out, and it's really good stuff. But like I'm going to touch on in the talk, we're not like everybody else. We have computers that we've got to worry about. We've got projects that we've got to worry about. We've got ham radio antennas that we've got to worry about. And for anybody who runs a server farm out of their house, which I used to until I gave my 48U server rack to the temple, having to shut down servers and power them back up is a huge pain, especially if those servers are what your home stack is. And if you lose power and all that stuff abruptly shuts off, there's a good chance that you're hosed. So obviously before a hurricane comes through, you'd want to shut all that stuff down, but how do you do that in a safe way? If you don't have $700 for an UPS, what do? What order do I shut things down? That's all stuff that I want you all to kind of start game planning and start thinking about. if you have a Nextcloud at home and all of your information is on that Nextcloud, your birth certificate, your social, all of the stuff that's important to you, and you're self-hosting this stuff, and a hurricane smokes your home lab, how effed are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Do you have backups anywhere else? Do you know anybody that you can trust, that you can give them an external drive and say, hey, this is an encrypted drive. This has got all of the stuff that, if my house burns down, if a hurricane comes, if somebody breaks into my house, puts a gun to my head and makes me open my safe, and yes, that happens more often than you think it does, and they walk away with all of my valuables, how effed am I? Can I go to my friend's house and get my external drive and maybe I've got kind of some semblance of control back in my life? Well, let's talk about that tonight. So, the agenda for the evening, and of course there we go. So, tonight we are going to talk about the why, the how, what makes us special, because hacking and being a hacker makes us think differently, and so we're not going to prepare like other people. We might involve computing in some of our preparedness. Do you have a ledger, for instance, that tells you how much stuff you have and where it is? It could be in an Excel spreadsheet, or maybe you're trying to get really good with Python, and maybe you build something that meets your needs, and maybe you want to put it on GitHub. Who knows? Even if you are a brand spanking new Python dev and all you know is everything past object-oriented development, like even if you just went through the first, I'd say 3 chapters of automate the boring stuff with Python, that will give you enough to build your own ledger of where you're storing stuff and how you're storing stuff with print functions, input functions, and dictionaries to be able to make your own ledger. And okay, you don't need a GUI. A GUI would be nice, but you don't need it. And then we are going to end on giving it back to you all, the community, with why it is important to have a community. And even if you don't trust the whole temple, because there's some of you guys, I don't know your names, and that's that I should do better at that, but we're growing fast. I don't know all of you. I don't live by a lot of you. I live by a couple of you, and that's made our friendship better. But if I live closer to you guys, maybe that's going to put us in a situation where, okay, we've got to figure out, hey, can I store some water at your house? Hey, how much water do you have? Hey, how about you store the water, I'll store the food, and then once disaster strikes, we'll drive over to each other's houses and make sure our families are okay. Or if something happens while I'm out of town, Vodkanaut and his wife are really good friends with my wife. I know I can call him and have him check on my wife and make sure everything's okay. Do you have that?
Did a tree fall on your house?
Yeah, right. Dude, that was gnarly. Yeah, if a tree falls on your house. So, and then we are going to maybe call up some of the more experienced members of the community. I know Rab wanted to talk about this. I know I broached DM about this. The Lorax was supposed to be here, but he's a lazy piece of shit, so... Say again? He would have been great. But, oh well. Yeah, right, that's why we call him the Lorax. So, we're going to talk about why do we prepare in the first place? And I know this is a really stupid, trivial question, but I think we have to ask. Because let's count back the last 4 or 5 years. We'll put 4 or 5 years in scope. Who here, by a show of hands, and I'm especially guilty of this, had to, whenever a hurricane came, sprint to fill their car up with gas and get 2 cases of water? I'm extremely guilty of this. And even if you're lying, you're only lying to yourself. So, yeah, just why? Why do we do that? And it's interesting, especially for a lot of Floridians who they've lived here for 5-10 years, and yet when a hurricane comes, they do this same song and stupid dance, right? Oh.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So, I don't watch the news at all. The only time The only time I know a hurricane's coming is because my mom texts me this picture of the map, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let me go to the grocery store real quick," because I really don't know, because I'm so out of touch.
So, but that's an interesting thing you could do right there. So if Chris told me, "Hey, John, here's $30. Here's $30. It would be great. Get me some water, get me some food, and if you want to store it, I'll store it at my house. I can put it in my garage, and I'll tag stuff that says Chris's shit don't touch. Store it at his house." But that's where the community aspect comes into it, because let's be honest, who else watches the news? I hate watching the news because I hate knowing how much of a profligate shithole I live in. I especially with election season coming up, I hate watching the news. So that's a genuine thing, is how do you know there's a hurricane coming? Can you see it on social media? Here at the temple, we've got the Secure Weather Ops Center where freaking RJ, God bless his soul, posts about hurricanes coming up. Yeah, I'll tag you in it. But yeah, but that's the benefit of a community. And this gets me into we'll stay on point one for a bit. So there's prepping. And the textbook definition of a prepper, at least according to Google, is a person who believes a catastrophic disaster or emergency is likely to occur in the future and makes active preparations for it, typically by stockpiling food, ammunition, and other supplies. That's pretty reasonable to me. Being a prepper doesn't mean that you're that big, fat, bearded guy from Far Cry 5. Yeah, everybody gets that joke. Yeah. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a prepper. Now, there's a difference. There absolutely is a difference between a prepper and a survivalist. A survivalist may be somebody who lives up in Crystal River, away from the river, and loads a bunch of guns and flies his Confederate flag high, and you don't really want to go to that person's house because it stinks of gator meat and incest. And you just don't want to do those things in that order. So, yeah, gator meat. Well, gator meat's good, but gator meat and incest not so much. I don't like I like to keep my incest and my gator meat separate. So, yeah, more what I'm getting at is being a prepper is not a derogatory thing. Now, mind you, is there a facet to prepping that is absolutely psychotic where you are listening to Alex Jones in the corner and you're canning your strawberries and preparing for whatever and just loading up your trees with traps? Yes. Once you've gotten to the Rab Beverly, I just dug my first punji pit portion of life, you may need to evaluate your priorities here. But prepping in the sense that there's a catastrophic event coming up next. Now, as a Floridian, I wonder what catastrophic event is coming up next. Yeah, right? But no, actually, that's really interesting. And we're going to talk about that tonight. I remember driving by somebody, this had to have been a year ago, and this person had their car all vinyled and decked out with zombie response task force units. And it's usually Jeep guys. Anytime. So yeah, it's usually Jeep guys. They've got like mollied out shovels on the back of their Jeeps, and you can't tell. Yeah, they've got the Shaka sticker and the zombie force response tag team thing, and the ducks on the front, and you're like, I don't know what's going on here.
And the empty jerry cans.
Yeah, empty jerry cans where it's like, okay, well, hey, what's in that jerry can? Oh, nothing. Okay, well. Yeah, that's like wearing Hollister sunglasses on your head. Like, congratulations, or Oakley's. Yeah, you sure told me what you do. But getting back to the point at hand here, that's something we're going to talk about tonight. And every time we hear GRC, we either crap our pants, throw up, or pull out our pocketbooks. Sometimes in that order. Yeah, sometimes all three. But whenever you're preparing, do you factor in risk versus likelihood? A very good friend of mine, an associate of Dan's, remember that class that we went to up in Ocala? Yes. Yeah, with a good buddy of mine, Mike. Mike's a former Intel weenie, And I'll post his book and his social media. I wouldn't talk so much about his social media because he gets out there sometimes. Oh my God, does he get out there sometimes? But yeah, Mike has a really good book about doing an area study, which we'll talk about tonight. Hopefully I wrote that down on a slide. If not, could you remind me to talk? Yeah, thanks, man. So the why is essentially coming down to how hard do you value yourself and how hard do you value your loved ones. And whenever you're looking at the economy of time, whenever a hurricane hits or whenever disaster strikes, would you rather be battening down the hatches or would you rather be out there in the chaos fighting for maybe getting some supplies? This gets us to point one, and it didn't happen last weekend because nobody hit me up. I'm hoping it can happen this weekend. So who here has a Costco, BJ's, or Sam's Club membership? Go ahead and put that high in the sky, please.
Do my parents count?
Are you your parents?
I am technically still under my parents.
You're above the 18. You're above the age of 18. Get on with it.
I mean,
Yeah, right?
no.
God, enough with this infantilism. So, okay, keep those hands up. Do you know people that don't have your hands up? Do you live near any of these people? Do you talk to any of these people? Do you know any of these people? Because how much is a 64 rack case of water at Walmart? Okay, somebody's looking that up. I can tell you how much a 64 rack of water is at BJ's, where I belong to, which I would consider BJ's like a cleaner but less well-stocked version of Costco. Say again?
They have different stuff.
They do have different stuff, but I'd consider them Target. Like, I go to BJ's so I don't have to go to Costco, even though... even though Costco has like cigars and watches and other really cool stuff.
It's $7 for the Zephyr Hills at Walmart.
Okay, $7 for 60
35 bottles.
for 35 bottles.
And it's $6 at Sam's Club because I just bought two.
I get a 64 maybe it is 48, but still okay. Whether it's 64 or 48. Yeah, BJ's, I think it's $4 for a 48 rack of water. If you go to BJ's or Sam's Club or Costco, wherever the hell you're going, for let's say from your first shop of the year in January. First shop of the year, Christmas and New Year's is over. You're on your New Year, New Me binge, so you're getting all the junk food out and you're buying nuts and seeds and berries without also realizing those have sugar in them too because we live in America and our food is trash. So,
for 40 at Sam's. Right?
say again?
$4.50.
So $4.50 for 48 bottles at Sam's. Okay. So, and you go to Sam's for that first shop of the year. You buy one case of water. Okay? Maybe you go again in February to get to another monthly shop or something. Get another case of water. So that's 48 plus 48. You do that 2 more times for a total of 4 cases of 48 racks of water. You're prepped for hurricane season. That's enough for you to drink, shower with. You don't need to boil the water. Keep you hydrated for, I'd say, a family of 4. Now it's just me and my wife, so now I have extra to give away to family and friends. But boom, that's already enough for hurricane season. Now the premise behind that is all I have to do is survive off the grid for 3 days before FEMA comes and either executes me or rescues me, whichever happens. Depends on which side of the Jesse Ventura spectrum you're on. But yeah, so with that, the why comes down to how much do you value your time and your family. If you're living by yourself, okay, maybe you just have you to worry about, but I now have a wife I've got to worry about. In a couple of years, I'm going to have kids I'm going to have to worry about. If I am not making sure that we are ready for hurricane season, if my wife and I aren't having those conversations, I'm doing my family a great disservice. What about my friends? If I have friends where, oh no, the hurricane came and swept away all of my water, and I love my friends, I'd die for my friends, do I have enough water to spare to give them? Or maybe FEMA's coming in 1 day, so I only have to worry, a day and a half or 2 days, so I only have to worry about half of that supply. Well, I can give the rest of that to my friends. So now it's how much do I care about my friends? How much food do I have to eat?
Last time we were on
untouched, but just south of us, like Anne Marie Island got nailed. So
Yeah.
it's like, now I got all this water I don't need. My power's on. Get it down.
Yeah, right? So, Vodka Knot makes an excellent point. Okay, so a hurricane comes, spares Tampa Bay because we've got like weird burial mounds or something. Yeah, voodoo magic or some kind of weird pagan magic that happened before the conquistadores came. Okay, the Cubans call it the McDill effect because there's a weather machine. Yeah. Yeah, no, actually, so my father-in-law went down to Cuba, and apparently the Cubans kept asking him about the machine that we have up here in Tampa that blows the. Yeah, that's what the Castro. Never let your friends do communism, folks, because that's what the commies down in Cuba tell the people is that we Yankees just keep blasting hurricanes down on their island. That's a no shit thing that they're told. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna finish that sentence. I was gonna say that would be pretty funny if I could just like blow a hurricane into Texas and be like, ah. But,
Never underestimate other stupidity in a hurricane either.
yeah, never underestimate a stupid hurricane. What Bashi said.
Stupid person in a hurricane.
A stupid person. Oh, are you talking about whenever Pasco County had to put out "Don't shoot the hurricane"? Because
The last hurricane, the last big hurricane that came through, I wasn't gonna lose power. Where my house is, some idiot was driving in the rain trying to hunt and find supplies like 24 hours before the storm. They crashed into a traffic control box like 3 blocks from my house. I lost power for a whole week because of an idiot driving in the storm. Never underestimate stupid people in a storm.
I would find that person and just.
I was so mad.
I would beat them like a rented mule.
Oh, I put them on a hamster wheel to run to my generator.
Now run! So, yeah, like Vodka Knot said, okay, so the hurricane spares you, and it hits somewhere south or north of Florida. Now that you don't need those supplies, at least right now, and you can go up to, Sam's Club or BJ's in another 2 weeks, shit, maybe you can even send half of your supplies. You've done a good thing for people you don't know. Or you could send them to your family. You could put them on a truck and drive them out. However you want to do it, you've now done a good thing because you prepared for the storm. So there's your why. Now we are coming into the concept of how. And this is where I would argue it turns into a mixture of art and science. Science, because I do think that there are fundamental things that are on, water, batteries, a crank radio, things like that are fundamental to your list, to your core list, food. But then it comes down to the art. Do you go to Sam's Club or BJ's or listen to these ReadyWise podcasts or something and buy food that way? And it's more expensive. Do you do that? Well, I don't. I live with me and one other human being, and I don't care how much she hates me. So I'll just go out and get 2 pallets of SpaghettiOs, and if anything happens, that's what we're eating for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. SpaghettiOs. Because,
Now we know how John's gonna die.
yeah. SpaghettiO. Yeah, Laura, she'll fucking kill me. I'm tired of these SpaghettiOs. The last thing I see is just a can of SpaghettiOs barreling towards my face. Followed by like that pause with that MTV music. We'll be right back. Yeah, so that's a thing. Or maybe you have kids. I know Trey has 3 spawn that if they had to eat SpaghettiOs for a week straight, they'd either be really, really happy or really, really sad. I don't know his kids that well. Well, I don't think Waverly would be that happy. Yeah, I think it would be a mix. I think Waverly and Tiffany would get pissed off because they're pretty much the same human being. But, so again, it comes down to science. Now, Rab was telling me whenever we were talking about it tonight, you have like a pallet of water, some food, and a big bag of charcoal.
I don't have any water. We have a lake.
Okay, he says we have a lake, we don't have any water. But that's actually a thing. So how do I prepare? All I need are these big core supplies that I have. I have a lake right here. I can boil my water. I can take a bunch of sand. I can filter it through the sand to get all the crap out. Boil the water to kill the amoebas. And cool, boom. I've got a semi-infinite supply of water. So that's a way you can do things right there. So maybe you don't go out and buy a bunch of water. Who's here ever heard of a geyser? So geyser, this is one of the this is kind of a cool quality of life thing. I used to have this when I was in the Marine Corps, and I'd get yelled at for it because none of my chain of command had one. They were like, "Who the fuck do you think you are, having a hot shower when none of us else can?" And it's like, well, y'all are dumb and I'm not. Except whenever you say that in the Marine Corps, you get a black eye. Ask me how I know. So there's a company called Geyser Systems, and they make a portable hot shower. You pour in a bottle of water, you plug it into a cigarette lighter or a generator or something. I think it's like $200. And it's got a sponge with a water hose connected on the other end. And you can essentially give yourself a hot sponge shower. And that's a big quality of life thing whenever it's freezing cold in North Carolina. Maybe you don't want that here in Florida. Maybe you want cold. So maybe you go up and buy a Frigidaire, a single room Frigidaire, and that's the only thing that you're running on your generator, or you have enough solar power panels to maybe run that for a couple hours and really cool the room down, and you all live, eat, and sleep in one room for a couple of days because that's where it's cool, or at least you people can phase people in and out of that room and get out of the heat. Because I can tell you, it being August and there not being power in the house, and you're essentially inside of your own little death box that you're paying a mortgage on, it sucks. It really sucks. And having that window unit or that wall unit or that portable unit that you can hook up to a generator and cool down one room or cool down a living room or something, cool down a garage, it's great. It makes all the difference, and now you're not necessarily clawing at the door waiting for FEMA. If I know that one of my friends has health problems, and if they get too hot, they're going to die, I can invite them over to my house, and they can chill out in the AC while we're waiting on FEMA to come. Again, community means everything. For the people within my inner circle who are in this room and know where they are, if they're around my area and need AC, they know they have that option. They might know to emulate that option. That's all stuff that we can consider as far as art versus science of what's important to you. So step one, essentially, kind of thinking of it like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is what's important to you as far as survival goes, and then how do you get that quality of life? That quality of life maybe being extra food aside from SpaghettiOs. That's not SpaghettiOs. AC. Yeah, something to cook the food on. Well, I'd argue that as a...
Hurricane in Safety Harbor 2017, we were without power for about a week, and we bought a bunch of MRE style things and a bunch of kind of ready serve pasta dishes, but you needed something to do heat to get the water into there. And also these things, if you want to show that off, saved my life. There's a little like $30 solar charger. You can get about 2 full phone charges off of that. It's got a little USB thing, so I usually carry a couple of these in my truck and around me, but yeah, they're little lifesavers.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Is a hurricane going to knock out the cell phone system? Maybe, maybe not. You don't know. How am I going to figure out my friends are okay? And that's all kind of stuff that we're going to talk about in the hacking portion of this. But really sitting down... Is that me? Well, whoever it was.
Crispy trying to break into a car.
Yeah, right. Crispy's trying to break into my car, maybe. I got him in trouble earlier. Okay, I am going to tell that story since he's out here. Yeah, so there's a thing in Safety Harbor called Third Friday, and sometimes me and Vodkanot's family go, sometimes me and Crispy go, sometimes me and the Lorax go. Now, for those of you who don't know me outside of the temple, Crispy, even though we screw with each other constantly, is one of my best friends on this planet, believe it or not. It's the weirdest thing ever, because all we do is pick at each other while we're here. Yeah, we text him and his wife asking if he wants to do Third Friday, and he says, "I don't know, let me ask my wife." I reply to him, "You're the man of the house," and then he stops replying afterwards, because I think Caleb beat the shit out of him. I'm not sure. Blink twice if she beat you. So, yeah, again, going back to that, do you live in a house? Do you live in an apartment? That's all going to, if you live in an apartment, do you have enough space to be able to prep? I have friends that live in apartments. I have a very large garage. I may have a shed. And they have supplies that they can keep with me throughout the year until the hurricane comes. And instead of them going to Costco or Walmart to fight people to get supplies, they're coming to my house, and I'm helping them load it into their car, and they're going home. And that way they don't have to sit with supplies for the next, I guess, 4 months that it's not hurricane season or something, but it's inconvenient. There are people here in the guild who have a lot of territory and have a big house. Maybe you might be able to store stuff at their house. Who knows? But again, the reason I did that mentorship call in the very beginning, and aside from I'm always harping on mentorship, is it pays to talk to people and extend your network. So the first thing you want to factor in here, and again, this is where cybersecurity does play into preparing for a hurricane. Threat model, threat model, threat model. You are trying to figure, good grief. Okay, everybody else saw what I just saw too, right? Okay, if you're watching at home, I just watched Rab and Crispy essentially reenact the ending of the episode 3 of Star Wars, and Rab got kicked into lava because Crispy had the high ground. So, modeling out, for instance, your house. You might want to model out your house. If you have a 2-story house, is all of your technology and important documents on the first story, or is it on the second story? Is that important? When's the last time your house has undergone a hurricane inspection? When was your house built? Who here can tell me what happened in 1991 that fundamentally changed the state? Hurricane Andrew. A bunch of people got that right. That totally and 100% changed how houses are built. So now you've got to figure out, was my house built before the Hurricane Andrew stats and building regulations or after? If built before, what does that mean? If built after, because we're hackers, right? We don't just assume that security is just this thing and we're fine and that's how it goes. No, we read the documents. We find out, okay, what amount of force can my windows spec up to as far as, what can hit it? What wind speeds? When might I need to board up my windows? Is boarding up my windows a thing that's effective? Who here has ever seen during a hurricane somebody tape an X over their windows? Who thinks that does something? Okay, what does it do?
It puts an X over your window.
That's about it. That's literally about it, is you have an X over your window, which I guess explains to everybody that you're an effing idiot or something who didn't...
It marks the loop drops.
Yeah, it marks the loop drops. Say again? So they think that if the window shatters, then the tape will essentially keep the window intact. Yeah. It does depend on what kind of glass it's made out of. It would be the glass, not the X of tape. I'll tell you that much. Now, here's an important fact. Who here has gone through the data? Because most hurricanes are studied where? What university? University of Florida. The University of Florida has an entire meteorological and physics center going into studying hurricanes. They study storm surge. They actually build houses inside of this giant warehouse, and they have these giant hurricane blowers, these giant wind motors and turbines that destroy the house. That what? There is a machine, yes. Yeah, and they essentially collect data on these building materials with this style house. How did it survive in these conditions? So what the University of Florida found, and I absolutely encourage you to fact check me on this because I might be right, I might be wrong. I read this in a paper. Once a single window or a door breaks on your house, bye-bye roof. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, unless you crack your window. Hang on.
That's a bigger problem with older houses, because with houses that were built in like the 60s, there was no roof wall connection.
Yes.
So only the weight of the roof was holding the roof onto the house. It wasn't held onto the house. With more modern houses, like we have increasing standards for actually attaching the roof to the wall. So it's at least somewhat harder for the roof to just, go flying.
But again, that's also, to Rab's point, why it pays into study. Look at how your house is built. And look into, as far as studies go, and like I said, the UF is a great place to look at those studies. How much force or how much pressure can your roof take before it's essentially gone? Because once your roof is gone, your house is toast.
It's the same uplift that lifts up an airplane.
Say again?
It's the same uplift that lifts up an airplane, basically.
Yeah, lift. Is it true for, yes, it is true for a 2-story home.
Different roofs have different problems. So like,
Yeah.
obviously, if you have a hip roof, it's more aerodynamic or whatever. So it's not going to get like hit at an angle that lifts up one of the eaves and then starts peeling the rest of the roof away as easily as the gable roof, which is just the like straight across, and then one side of the house is a triangle, right?
Yeah.
And if you have a flat roof, you already know that it leaks all the time.
Yeah, because, well, and that's another thing. If you do have a flat roof, okay, water pools at the top of the roof. Yeah, and if there's massive amounts of water coming in because it's a hurricane, and it definitely rains during hurricanes. Yeah, right? Then you might want to factor that in as rain pools on top of your roof and you have a flat roof. Eventually that water is going to have to go somewhere. Might be your living room. So that's definitely something to consider. If you live in an apartment, what does that mean? Say again?
Put a bucket in your living room to catch.
Yeah, right. And then it catches the water, and yeah, now you get free water. Yeah. And then the federal government comes and arrests you for collecting rainwater because who do you think you are? And yeah. Yeah. So.
Built in the last 3 years, that's all wood construction.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I actually know somebody in the guild who lives in that apartment complex south of Gandy. It's not you. You know those apartments, right? That were built by the marina. Yeah.
It's
All wood. All wood. Anybody who could have driven by that while it was being built could have told you it is all wood, probably not so good to be in during a hurricane. Also, yeah, right? Balsa wood. What side of the bay are you on? That's a fantastic question. Are you on Tampa Bay? Are you on the inside of Tampa Bay? Are you on the Gulf? That's important. That's something you're going to want to know. Say again? Your evacuation zone. FEMA designates an evacuation zone, and the state of Florida designates an evacuation zone. And flood zones. Flood zones and evacuation zones are two completely different things. If you don't know the difference, Google it. If you don't know what zone you're in, Google it. However, there was an apartment complex that I was in Tarpon Springs. Those ones right by the Winn-Dixie on Alter 19 in the hospital. Yeah, those were the apartments I lived in. Brand spanking new. I knew the specs that they were built to. I also knew they were in a flood zone A and an evacuation zone A. So, not so fast. Evacuation zone and flood zone A means you get the F out of there first, right? Well, maybe. Well, not maybe. Okay, so if you know somebody like the Lorax, who is a land surveyor who has access to a lot of this GIS data, as well as can essentially walk out there with the sticks and do a shoot for you, walk out there with the drone and do an elevation marking for you, those apartments are 38 feet above sea level. Well, what does that mean? For storm surge, say again? Yeah, that's pretty damn good. How far above sea level is your house? That's something you're going to want to figure out. What does that mean to you? Somebody who is 2 feet above sea level and in an evacuation zone D, regardless of what your evacuation and flood zone is going to have different implications for flooding, whether that's rain, whether that's storm surge. It's going to be different if you're in a zone D and you're only 2 feet above sea level, like some people in Pinellas County are. In Safety Harbor, I'm 42 feet above sea level. I'm in zone C, but I'm less worried about it. Essentially what it comes down to, rain pooling, storm surge. Storm surge is actually the really big one because A, there's really nothing you can do about it. B, once it comes, that's it. Your house is toast. That's it. And especially if you've decided to stay and storm surge comes. Say again? Yeah, you are now climbing on top of your roof, just like they had to do in New Orleans, and you're getting rescued by helicopter, or you're not getting rescued at all. And you also get to have the unique joy of being traumatized as everything that you worked for in your house slowly goes up in water, which that's not a lot of fun.
The other thing to think of in those fundamentals, you got to think about if I'm dealing with wind or water, what's my escape plan? Because if I boarded up my house, water starts coming in. Can I get through those boards to get out?
Yeah.
Or do I have a saw that I can cut through my attic to get on my roof? Or if there's like a fire because somebody puts a generator inside their house, which happens, you might be trapped in there.
Yeah, don't put a generator in your house. Don't put a generator near your house. Don't put a generator in your garage. That's dumb. This is just another reason why you talk to people, why we have the guild, why we have these conversations in the guild, because that might not be something you know. You get your nice new shiny Furman generator, and you torched your house. Yeah, so there's no power to your house. You're waiting on FEMA, and you just burned your house to the ground. Well, good job. So that's something you've got to worry about there. But going back to threat modeling, understanding where all your valuables are stored. Let's go back to the data retention rule of 3-2-1. We all know what that rule is, do we? Who here can explain the 3-2-1 rule? Bashi, go.
3 backups in 2 locations and 1 different media.
Yep. I've heard one different media, 1 offline. So 3 different backups in 2 different locations. So you might keep 1 at your house. I might have a flash drive at Vodkanot's house. I don't have a flash drive at Vodkanot's house. Please don't break into his house trying to get back at me. Because, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Good luck finding it with all the flash drives, and he'll kill you with an AR-15, which, good job. Yeah, so 3 different backups, 2 different locations. You could have one in the cloud, or 1 on your computer, or 1 wherever, and then 1 offline. So that way, if a data center goes out, if you don't have a computer and all of your backups are on your flash drive, how hosed are you? That might be something to consider. Do you want to keep paper backups? Do you want to keep electronic backups? Electronic backups are only so good as you have something to put them on electronically. If your cell phone's dead, if your laptop's dead, and somebody needs to see your birth certificate, or somebody needs to see a prescription or an allergy card, how screwed are you? That's something that you've got to consider right there. Where's all this being stored? Is it being stored maybe in another state? Is it being stored with some friends? What important documentation do you need? Do you have everything on the first floor? Is it on the second floor? For things such as medications, do you have enough? If you need a CPAP machine, do you have a way to run that? Again, just kind of going down to it and figuring it out from there. Now, I will tell you this. It is easier to figure this out with your friends than it is by yourself. It is easier to figure this out with your spouse or with the person that you're living with than yourself. So do not isolate yourself whenever you're doing these plans. It is not uncommon to have a party where you all link up with your friends, buy some beers, buy some pizza, and sit down and really game plan this stuff. Let me ask you all this. Say again? Red team your own plan. Hang on. Do you want to talk more to that real quick? I've been waiting for you to pipe up.
So, in general, like once you start to develop that plan, you'll definitely want to sit there and get with some other people, not just yourself, because you make assumptions automatically when you're planning. And so if you get with other people to sit there and start poking holes in your own plan. It's what we do in security as professionals. We red team our networks. You should be red teaming your plan to see, because if you find out where it's going to go wrong when you're hanging out with your friends is a hell of a lot better than finding out what's going to go wrong when the hurricane washes away your house.
And on top of that, it lets your friends help you with those issues. Yeah. I may not have a lake in the back of my house, But Rab, who I've been known to break bread with once or twice, does have a lake in the back of his house. So if something happens to my water, I know I can go to him and I know he won't turn me away.
$20 a bucket.
Yeah, right? Say again?
Odd point for you.
Said it.
So, some of you may be becoming new parents soon. You may choose to breastfeed your children. What if your wife pumps? What do you do in an event of a hurricane? How are you storing the food for your child? You would think, but we had managed to build up like almost 2 gallons in the freezer reserved, and we luckily were able to donate that for to the hospital for donor milk. But it is something of like the last hurricane we had to go through and like, what are we going to do if we don't have a freezer for a week? This stuff is extremely perishable. I went and got the best Yeti thing I could get and stuff as much ice in it, right? Because that's the thing I know, it can last 7 days. But those are like the weird edge cases that you're going to bump into.
Or donating your milk to Radar so he can get gains at the gym. So you're not immune. Question. Okay. So by a show of hands, who knows that somebody in this room lives within, I'll be generous and say 5 to 10 miles of them?
He's not here. Of what?
Yeah. Say again. Somebody in this room lives 5 to 10 miles from them, or somebody in the guild that you know lives 5 to 10 miles from them. The rest of you might be hosed. So something that you might want to consider is, yes, you have this community, and yes, you have people that will go to bat for you if you call it out. However, ... who do I want to game plan with more? Do I want to game plan with DM, who lives 50 miles away from me, and it might be really tough to get to him if I store my supplies at his house, or we need to get a hold of each other? Or do I want to game plan with my neighbor? Get to know your neighbors. I know in the current age that we're in, it's weird. People come and go. People rent. Your neighbors are weirdos. They fly the flag of the political affiliation that you don't like, and they're bad people. Get to know your neighbors. Because at the end of the day, that might be who you're relying on. If I can't get a hold of DM, or if I can't get a hold of Badger, who those are 2 of my best friends, but they live on opposite sides of Tampa Bay, I'm hosed. And if I've spent my entire time game planning, they can get to each other, but I can't get to them, I've just essentially screwed the pooch. So get to know your neighbors, find people who live close to you, find people in the guild who live close to you. That's I'd argue kind of the pyramid. Is, guild, find people within the guild, or find people within your community. Find people with, your coworkers, people that you talk to on a day-to-day basis, or that you share common ground with. Because if I find somebody who, if my neighbor, for instance, if I know that they didn't prep, and, year 1 goes by, and they get, Tampa Bay gets slammed, and they ask me, hey, John, can you spare me some water, dude? I missed the boat, and oh, dude, yeah, that'd just be great. Hook me up, dude. And then year 2 goes by, and we get slammed again, and they're asking me the same thing over and over and over again. Hey, man, can you hook me up? I'm less likely to help them after, 3 or 4, because at the end of the day, you've got to be your own first responder. What the hell are you doing the other, not 360 days out of the year where we're not being hurricaned? So that might be something you want to consider is, are you going to be a mooch? How many times can you be a mooch? Who can you mooch off of? And it's okay to be a mooch. Sometimes it happens. If you live in an apartment, you might not have a place that you can store stuff at. You might be a college student, and your family's up in Tennessee, and you're down here, and you don't have a lot of disposable income. That's fine. Do we know a lot of noobs here who are college students that we can adopt? Maybe. That might be something you want to talk to somebody about. Doing an area study. This is actually something really important, and you can kind of take this with a grain of salt, because area studies are really in-depth. I will post the book for how to do an area study by my buddy Mike Shelby, but what an area study essentially is think of it as a holistic, ground-up research project on where you live, the major highways where you live, the political affiliations where you live. That might be relevant. Maybe you've got somebody within your emergency operations center who is known to be corrupt and incompetent. Do you know who is in charge of your emergency operations center in your county? Do you know where they're giving out sandbags? That's all stuff that goes in your area study. Do you know these people? Do you know where these locations are? Who here, if we need to evacuate, is taking US 19? Yeah, you and everybody else, right? Or you might know that that's dangerous territory and there's going to be a lot of road rage going on there. There's going to be a lot of... Say again?
There used to be 19 where I live up in Hernando County, and driving by, I looked over to my right, and I'm like, they had posted on the telephone pole where the storm surge would be for a Category 4 and a Category 5. 4, I was looking at eyeballs. 5, I was going to be underwater. And I live about 2 miles from there. So I have beachfront property at a Category 5.
Yeah. So that's something you want to consider as well. What routes can you take if you need to evacuate? Where can you go if you need to evacuate? When do you leave? Yeah, when do you leave? Do you want to talk? Do you guys want to?
So there's a saying that I wish I'd learned earlier when I started being an adult. You hide from the wind and you run from the water. And in 2017, there was a Category 4 that looked like it was going to be tracked right up into the Tampa Bay. Yeah, and so we got out of there because the water was going to come up, and you get out of there. We went to my parents' place in Plant City, and then it tracked over and came right over where we were. So, you got to make those decisions well before it gets here, because a lot of people see it on the map and they think, oh, it's going to be here in 2 days. I'm going to leave. No, the eye is going to be there in 2 days. And for those 2 days, you're going to be getting wind and rain, and it's the size of the state. So at a certain point, there's only so far you can get.
I want to tack on to that. Yeah, so like if you're watching the 24-hour news cycle during hurricanes, they're gonna like sit there and poke at you until you have a panic attack, like a day and 3 hours before the storm is supposedly going to hit where you are. It's probably never going to hit where you are because their spaghetti model is wrong. But if it does hit where you are, it's not going to help you to be in the same traffic jam with everyone who's like spilling out of their houses, pouring off the side of the expressway trying to get out of there. You'd be better off in your house. So if you don't leave like really early, don't turn off the news if you have to, because, or just watch the essentials, because they're going to get you to do the wrong thing. And I've known a lot of people who left Tampa and they went to Orlando, and then 2 hurricanes in a row hit Orlando. Both of them were supposed to hit Tampa. Of course, they didn't. They turned early. They went and they went all the way across the state and hit those people in Orlando.
That happened last year?
Yeah, and then other ones. I knew someone who went to Mexico Beach, and then they got hit in Mexico Beach. Like, why did you leave here and go there? Well, they were watching the news.
Yeah. So what is, that's something that can go in your area study. What is the minimum amount of time or the maximum amount of time I can wait at my house for more information before I either need to make a decision and get on the road, or I'm effed? I just got to stay where I'm at because there's no way I'm getting through this traffic jam. Where am I going to go? All of the hotels in Orlando are booked. So that's something you're going to want to consider. Do you know how to read a spaghetti model? Do you know what a spaghetti model is?
You know how to read a map if you don't have internet.
Yeah, right? Yeah, do you know how to read a map if you don't have internet? And these and it's kind of interesting. Everybody makes fun of me because I stockpile ammo because guns are my religion, to quote The Mandalorian. But I'm hearing things coming from people who maybe don't own guns, or maybe that's not their persuasion. So I want you to try and get this Far Cry 5 survivalist mentality disassociated with prepping, because it really is some common sense stuff. Do you know how to read a spaghetti model? What is your news source of choice? Do you have a news station that you trust? Do you have a news station that might be reliable enough? There's a guy I follow, if you want to write this down, Mike's Weather Page. Mike's weather page. He lives in Oldsmar. The guy's a hometown hero. And has he been to school for meteorology? No, he's just some dude. But he's learned to read a lot of these models. He provides you all of the data. He's very non-alarmist. That's why I like him. And he sits you down and walks you through and explains all of the data. I actually learned how to read spaghetti models from watching Mike's weather page. I would give him a follow on Instagram. That's actually another warning system right there. If you follow Mike's weather page on Instagram or on Facebook or something, he'll tell you when the hurricanes are coming. Oh, will he tell you when the hurricanes are coming?
You're going to be in the lab and it's about to get hit by a tornado.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
It was like 2 months ago or something, and it came over.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, so I remember that. There was a tornado that had touched down right at Tampa. It was a water spout that had turned into a tornado that touched down right off of the coast of here, went towards Tampa International. The Badger was working at the lab. I see it come up on Instagram. I hit him up. He says WTF. And I hit him up in the group chat that I'm in, so Radar's going nuts, DM's going nuts. We're like, Daddy, get out of there. The tornado's right behind you. Yeah, right. And that tornado ate his entire ass. It was horrifying. But so, yeah, go. Say again? Mostly for the tornado. Yeah. Hold on one sec. We got a sir.
Have a plan or a backup or figure out how you're going to deal with your boomer parents because they don't listen to anything.
No, that's interesting because I have a boomer parent and she's an idiot. I love my mommy more than life itself. I think my mom might have rolled a 2 on intelligence whenever her character sheet was created. She's as boomer as they come, and whenever I say, "Hey mom, you might want to get out of Dodge," because my mom lives right by the Enclote power plant, like 2 feet from the water, and I say, "Hey ma, you might want to get out of Dodge," I can expect one of the following 3 responses from her. I've lived here for 10 years and there ain't been no hurricane that's come up here. Or the news is always lying about hurricanes. They're just trying to scare me. Nothing's going to happen here. Or my personal favorite, because I'm from Pasco County, and Pasco County has a very good heritage of companionism with our Native American tribe during the Chasco Fiesta. And if you're from Port Richey, you know. I think the only person who might know is Trey. And so my personal favorite from my mom is my friend Arlo, who is one of the Native American dancers at the Chasco Fiesta, told me that some of his ancestors did some kind of protection ward on the Tampa Bay area, and no hurricane has hit us in a really long time. I can expect just like a Furby doll, I can expect one of those 3 responses. So you, just like he said, you need to have some kind of plan to convince your parents to get the hell out of Dodge, hog tie them, get them to the house, whatever it is you've got to do so your parents don't go down with the ship. I know in that point in time, you're going to be rat pissed that your parents won't listen to you, and you're going to say, good, they deserve what they get. And then your parents are fucking dead and you feel bad. Don't let that happen. Yes, it is karmic justice or whatever you want to call it. If your parents get what they get, yeah, or you cash in. Fuck it. Or you cash in. Yeah. Yes, it is karmic justice that your parents drown in their house or something, but yeah. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah. Hey mom, dad, if you really if you really believe in the Native American ward that was, done over Tampa Bay or something 800 years ago, sign this piece of paper to prove it. So, yeah. So have a plan for your boomer parents. That could be something that goes in the area study too. Knowing where, I love hearing this. This is my bug out bag. I got my bug out bag in my truck. Where are you bugging out to, my brother in Christ? Like, where are you going?
On the highway behind everyone else.
Yeah, you're on the highway behind everyone else. I love the bug out bag, people, because it's essentially just a bunch of crap from Harbor Freight thrown in a backpack that they bought on Amazon, and they've got their bug out bag. Where are you bugging out to? I don't have a bug out bag. I have a bug-in bag. In my backpack is a bag full of everything I think I might need to get myself home. Home is my castle. Home is where I am safe. Home is where I am 42 feet above sea level. I'd imagine my home could probably take a lot. Or if somebody breaks in, I can reenact Home Alone 1 or something, unless it's the ATF, in which they'll kill me or something. Please, yeah. So, figure out where you are bugging out or bugging in to. Having a bug-in bag full of everything that you need to get yourself home is perfectly valid, especially if you've had those mitigations put in place at home to where you can feel reasonably safe there during an event, whether it's a storm, tornado, unrest, whatever.
For the record, there's nothing wrong with having both.
Sure. Well.
The bug-in bag is generally in your.
Hang on.
Sorry, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. You should have both. The bug-out bag is at home, so if you need to get out, say there you are in an evacuation zone, you have everything you need to get on the road faster than your neighbor, and that's all that really matters at that point. Is you want to get ahead of that traffic, and then in your vehicle you should have a bug-in bag or a get-home bag, and that should have everything you need to get from your vehicle wherever you're at back home without the use of your vehicle.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, that works.
I'm not much of a thrower.
So, Google what an area study is. If you Google area study Mike Shelby, and it's spelt like the names, you will find the book by my buddy Mike on how to, it's called Area Intelligence Handbook. It's $25. You'll find Mike's Zitter or Twitter or X or whatever page below it on Google. It's Mike Shelby, do your area study. Following him on Instagram and X and all that, it's a ride. It's a ride. I love Mike. He's a buddy of mine. You might meet him at DEF CON, but yeah, I like Mike. Get his book. If you don't get his book, ask to borrow his book. Ask to summarize his book. Look at his YouTube videos. He definitely does a good YouTube video on how to do an area study. Take everything he says with a grain of salt, because Mike is special, but yeah. So do your area study. Keep it somewhere safe. Keep it updated. Simple as. Pick a list and don't be loyal to it. Starting with that good base, whether it's from FEMA, whether it's from Pasco County, Pinellas County. I know people who they'll get their Pasco County Gazette every start of every hurricane season, and they will go out and get exactly what is on that list and nothing else. And yeah, I would imagine those are the people that, if they owned a healthcare company, would do exactly what HIPAA says and nothing else. And then they'd get pwned and say, I don't understand. I followed HIPAA. I should be protected. No, that's not how that works. Yeah, it's the bare minimum. I followed the CMMC. Why did I get hacked? I don't understand. Well, your GRC person lied to you. Sorry. Come cry on my shoulder and then pay me lots of money. Do not be loyal to that list. Cross stuff off that you think is dumb. I do not have a hand crank radio in my house because I am a ham radio operator. My ham radio is my radio, and I've got batteries for it and other things for it. So that's coming off my list. Stuff that might come on my list are batteries for my ham radio, ammo, things like that. So pick a list.
Why are there 4 new AR-15s on your list?
Because you're not my mom. DMS, why are there 4 new AR-15s on my list?
Bump stocks are back on the menu.
Yeah, bump stocks are back on the menu. Forced reset triggers. Forced FRT summer, boys. Yeah. So pick a list. Don't be loyal to it. Red team it. Question it. But use that as a good starting point. Having a matrix of events to prep for is actually something that, and I'll tell a me and Danny story, because Danny's one of my oldest and bestest friends. So we went to one of Mike's classes up in Ocala, and we were learning how to do a good area study, and we had a whole bunch of things on our list that we were nervous of happening. One of those things was Grady Judd goes rogue in Polk. You remember this. Grady Judd goes rogue in Polk County and decides to establish his own new succession version of the United States. And we both had that on our list, and we were researching Polk County, and we were researching Grady Judd and looking at his tweets and building scrapers for his tweets so we can monitor his crazy ass. And Mike looks at us and says, "Are you both fucking retarded?" What? What is the likelihood of that happening? And I remember, I think it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. Danny and I just kind of stared at each other, and we were like, yeah, okay. We see ya. It's not zero. It's not zero.
I mean, in your defense, didn't he like fly to Australia to catch a predator and bring him back?
That sounds like something Grady Judd would do, and then he'd like go live on Instagram. You see what I got here? There's one of these here pedophilers. And yeah. So going back to risk and likelihood, there are things like Grady Judd building his own private fiefdom and establishing another colony in the United States and enslaving everybody, that it's not a 0% chance that'll happen.
No, it's a 0% chance. You don't live in Polk County. It's already shot.
It's established kind of.
Okay, so the Polk Countyites are telling me that this is not going to happen, and I'll trust them because they've actually got skin in the game. But he better not wander himself over to Pinellas County lest he yeah. So are you trying? Okay, the zombie response vehicle. We have arrived at our destination. That is something I would argue is, if not a damn near 0% chance, if not a 0% chance, I would say it's a damn near 0% chance of the dead roaming the earth, and we don't know what they're doing at Redstone Armory and all that stuff. So yes, there is a damn 0% chance that is going to happen. So you putting studs and spikes on the grill of your vehicle like you are fucking Mad Max. The fire axe that they're gonna, all that wonderful stuff, or having a sharpened shovel that they're going to use to decapitate the undead, but they trip and fall and impale themselves on it instead because, bad idea. Yeah, bad idea. Very, very bad idea. Sit down, write out a list of things that you are nervous for. Because you are a Floridian, a hurricane, if not at the top of your list, should be damn near at the top of your list. Next to that, write down the likelihood of how from low likelihood to high likelihood, you think that stuff is going to happen. Then show it to your friends so they can tell you either how reasonable or how stupid you are. Again, that goes back to DM's principle. Say again?
Your list.
Yes, your list. Yeah, show it to your, Obviously, I have friends that red team every single thing I do, but you definitely want to show it to a friend and do not fall victim to groupthink. Show your list as much as you can. I understand there are people out there that think that the current potted plant that's sitting in the White House, or the Grand Cheeto that's running for the White House, whoever you're voting for, I hate them both equally, is going to stack up on their door, or send people to stack up on their door and read their mail and give them swirlies and do all these things. But if that's at the top of your list, or you have something like that at the top of your list of what happens if California breaks off from earthquakes happening and then crashes into show this to people that you disagree with. Show this to people that you admire. Show this to mentors. Give people a chance to break up your groupthink and to break up the assumptions that you have. It is very useful to do that. The last thing that I want to touch on is knowing your community and being able to contribute to it. You do not want to be the person in your community that everybody has to carry, because eventually they will get tired of it. I don't care how good a friend you think you are. I've had to carry people's pack when I was in the military. Zumo's had to carry people's packs. I'm sure there's people here in the military that have had, Boshi, well, you guys don't have packs. You guys, yeah. I think.
I've thrown many sea bags into crates to go onto a carrier, and then also pick their sea bag out of the crate and put it in their rack, 200 frames down, 4 ladders up.
Yeah. So they have sea bags, and the squids have sea bags, or that's what they call their rack mates' butt cheeks when they squeeze them or something. Sorry, I had to make a Navy joke. Yep. Very nice. So, point being is, some of my best friends I met in the Marine Corps, I'm not carrying their pack more than a mile because I've got to carry my shit too. I've got to worry about my family too. I've got to worry about my wife, and I've got to worry about me, and I've got to worry about my mom, and I've got to worry about her parents. So somewhere, and mind you, I've got friends in this room that I would die for, but they fall within maybe 6 or 7 in the pecking order of other things I've got to worry about. So if you're counting on your friends to put you first and continuously do that, you're making a mistake. Stop that. Know where you can contribute too, because if I need a skill set that Radar has and he needs a skill set that I have, that's a point of symbiosis. And if I have to choose between having to give him my extra water or having to give Homeschooled my extra water, and Homeschooled has nothing that I want, sorry. But Homeschooled does have something that... Well, actually, no, you sold that foul, didn't you?
No, I still haven't.
Oh, okay, and Homeschooled has something that I want. So...
Basically, I think the only thing I have is, like, once civilization rebuilds, I can help you run for president.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Mancho, once I become the warlord of Safety Harbor, like, he'll help me win the hearts and minds after I become warlord. So, how does hacking play into this? And this is a genuine question. How do the skills that you have as a hacker, and I say hacker and not cybersecurity because you're not going to be able to do a GRC assessment on your house post-hurricane. Sorry, I hate bashing on GRC people in my elden age, with how experienced and wizened I am, because younger Coach East love to dunk on the GRC folks. But older Coach East doesn't do that now. But I would argue hacking is a more attuned skill set to prepping than being a cyber person is. So we're going to be hackers in this room today. And where hacking and having that skill set plays into things, and Rab, I think, is gone, but who'd have thunk that with a bag of charcoal and a bunch of sand, you can do stuff? So, for instance, who here can tell me what you get whenever you pound a bunch of charcoal into dust, charcoal, not activated charcoal, and you run water through it? What does it become? No, you die. You fucking die. Because it becomes lye. Lye. Now that's useful because now you have soap. But that's not useful because if you think you're getting purified water and instead you fucking die because you drank lye. See what I'm saying here?
Cool way to make chemical burns.
Yeah, it is a very cool way to make chemical burns and pretzels. You can make pretzels with that too. Yeah. So you've got
Should we be concerned that
No.
pretzels are made? Okay.
I'm not going to use my lye on you, Noe, don't worry. I've got like...
Pretzels are made out of lye.
Oh, no. No.
Why would I ever think you would use that on me?
No, I've got more priorities than that.
Wait, why was that your first thought?
Don't fall into that rabbit hole because then people will freak out about formaldehyde.
Yeah, formaldehyde, yeah. So, but hacking plays into this. Who here knows that you can use a coat hanger to strengthen your ham radio antenna signal? There's ways you can do that. You can take your ham radio antenna with some 550 cord and yeet it over a tree branch with a long enough cord, and attenuation factor. There's math factored into that, which is why hacking is important. And eventually, you'll be able to possibly establish line of sight with your buddy's house. Who here knows
that tuna cans and tissues can be a suitable lamp? And
tuna cans and tissues?
Yeah, you can. It has to be oil, not water. But yeah, you just jab a hole in the top and put a little wick in there, and it burns the oil, and then you have tuna that you can eat after.
Cooked tuna, very good. Stuff like that. Understanding engineering. If you are a hardware hacker, if you are somebody who understands, if you put two chemicals or two things together, you get another thing. Sometimes life can be Minecraft. Now, you don't need to know that stuff. If you don't know that stuff, don't panic. You know who I have in my network who does know that stuff? Who do I have in my network that knows that stuff? Rab. So I can maybe just ask him. If I look at how he prepares, why does he prepare the way he prepares? DM, Vodkanaut, all these different people that I hang out with and break bread with. I ask them, hey, what's on your list? How do you prepare? What are you doing? Those are conversations that you can have, and those conversations that you should have. Now, also being a hacker means you probably have a ham radio technician license. I'd argue there's a reasonable chance you have that. When does that become valuable? If the cell phone signals are down. That happened on Boca Grande. The one cell phone tower that they had on Boca Grande collapsed during last year's hurricane. That island was stranded. Excuse me. So who depends on the three big bridges of the Tampa Bay area? The Courtney Campbell, the Howard Franklin, and the Gandy. Are you going to be able to, especially if you live in St. Pete, or if you live in Pass-a-Grille, or if you live in Seminole, and you need to get to your family in Hillsborough County, or if you need to get to some friends, if you need to get to Miami, or if you need to get to Orlando, and those bridges go down, how are you going to get there?
Said driving the Courtney Campbell during a hurricane is a good time.
Yeah, if those bridges are closed, what happens? If those bridges go down, what happens? Those are all things you need to if they're backed up by traffic, what do you think's going to happen? If you live in Bradenton or Palmetto, or if you're trying to get to Bradenton or Palmetto, do you think the Sunshine Skyway Bridge will survive a Category 5 hurricane? I honestly don't know. Maybe it will. That's one of those things I really hope I don't have to find out. But, yeah, right. Chris is recording it. Really? You know, that's actually something, not if it's hitting Tampa Bay. I might see if anybody from the Temple's up to that. I do low-key, like if it's hitting somewhere else, just have people carpool and stay in a parking garage and just capture data, because I'm serious, like things like photography and capturing data during those hurricanes, NOAA takes that stuff and they are very, very, very grateful for it. If you are a ham radio operator and you go somewhere else that's being hit by a hurricane and you set up your little shack in that parking garage and you can report to the NOAA stations or you can report to the National Hurricane Center what's going on, yeah, so that... Or also, you could just do disaster response. What were you saying, Jake?
I would say if you're going the ham route, there are specialized trainings for emergencies, and during emergencies, you need to be cognizant to keep the airways clear. So make sure you're not tripping on somebody else's bandwidth, especially if they're trying to coordinate emergency operations.
Yeah, and if you take the ham radio exam, or if you study for the ham radio exam, they go into that as far as not stepping on emergency operators. But point being is, as hackers, we are not normal, and that's a good thing. Our brains don't work the way that everybody else's works. We have the idea of disposing of norms and going for what works best. We have the idea of customizing things like our computers, customizing our laptops, our operating systems, customizing our policies and procedures to A, reflect what makes the most sense, but B, just because we like how it looks, we like how it is. Customizing our terminals. Take that energy to outside into the real world. Customize your lists. Customize how you prep. Socialize that stuff. Take hacking to prepping. And I promise you, if you come in with that mindset, it will work out for you. Last thing I want to touch on is how do your friends in the community play into things. And I would argue this is, aside from, anybody can go out and buy shit at Costco. That's fine. Anybody can go out and do that and check the boxes on their list, and maybe they'll be fine. But adding to your quality of life, or adding to your chances of survival, because, let me ask you all this. Regardless of who you're voting for in November, do you think the other side is going to take it lying down if they lose? regardless of who you're voting for, whether you're a red or a blue or a green or whatever the hell, the side that loses, do you genuinely think that they are going to take that well? Yeah, right? That actually plays into something that Chris is doing. I don't know if you want to show that later, but no, so that's something you're going to have to worry about. Now, regardless of whether you're a red or a blue, you being here at the temple shows that you have the maturity to rise above that. And whether, you know, my guy wins or somebody else's guy wins, whoever wins, I'm going to care more about what are my friends going through than running through the streets naked or crying in the corner because I live in communism land again. So, coming down to that though, I think we all have that consensus that the other side, no matter who the other side is, isn't going to take it lightly. What is that going to look like in the state of Florida? What is that going to look like in Tampa? That goes back to the area study. That's all stuff you want to know in the area study. I know we've been talking about hurricanes for most of the night, but civil unrest is also a very real thing. We learned about it, whether you want to say, hey, look at January 6th, or you want to say, hey, look at 2020 during June and July and August. Both of those are examples. No matter who you voted for, both of those can be used as examples of this is what happens and this is what we have to deal with. And again, us being here at the temple means we can rise above this stuff, or at least I hope we can whenever the rubber meets the road here. And we can look past all that and focus on our community and what we need. But, going back to the area study, do you know the color of the area that you live in? Do you know if you live in a red area or a blue area? Do you know what's going to happen if that person wins, if that person loses? Do you have somebody who knows all of the extremist groups in the area? On either side, do you know if a bunch of Oath Keepers are going to run up and start running through the streets if their guy loses? Do you know if Antifa is going to start running through the streets if their guy loses? You don't know. And that's why having somebody on Twitter, having somebody on Instagram, being able to identify all that stuff in your area study, but also having somebody who can scrape that stuff, research that stuff, learn that stuff. If you're a CTI person, cyber threat intelligence person, who is that? We got one person right there. You might want to get to know, you might want to be friends with Zumo. You might want to add him to your network. You might want to show him what value you bring to being friends with him. You might want to find other CTI people. Who here knows how to scrape social media? You might want to get to know them. You might want to see who are these people, what are they looking for, what lists do they have, can I add what I'm worried about to your list? Can you send me an email or something, or hey, maybe I can help you by word compiling all this list. Maybe we can do a newsletter or something. That's something we got to worry about too. Because again, going back to that old premise, we are not normal. And that's good. That's how hackers work and think. So your friends in your community, you initially, if you live with anybody who's underprivileged, if you live with anybody who's disabled, if you're friends with anybody who's underprivileged or disabled, I have friends that might have anxiety, and if shit starts popping off, whether it's a hurricane, I know for a fact, my wife definitely has anxiety, and a lot of times, if there's a hurricane, if there's unrest, if there's something going on, I'm the one that has to, pick her up and get her to where we need to go safety-wise. Actually, whenever there were protests in 2020, downtown Tampa, there was a big protest going on outside the police building. Me, her, and her parents were supposed to be going to a concert. And as I drove by and saw all that stuff playing out, I said, yeah, no, that's not happening. We're going to stay home tonight. Not worth it. It's not worth it. So being able to look at that stuff objectively, B, look at that stuff as a community, and C, understand who might possibly fall victim to some of that stuff. If I have a friend with anxiety, if I have a friend who's disabled and can't evacuate in case of a hurricane, can't carry all these pallets of water, is that something I'm going to want to try and help them with? I would argue point 2. It's definitely one of the more important things that you want to touch on is the communications plan. We all have this. This is a wonderful tool. But what happens if you don't have this? What happens if you are like the people on Boca Grande and you wake up and your entire life has been thrown upside down, and this now has that little satellite signal on it, or that X in the top right-hand corner showing no signal? How are you going to tell your loved ones that you're okay? How are you going to call for help? Because at a bare minimum, FEMA's coming in 3 to 5 days. And if you live on an island, if you live in an area that is fully underwater, again, going back to that area study, if you live in an area that's susceptible to flooding, like South Tampa, and you might not be underwater, but all of the streets around you are underwater, and now you're essentially Hawaii. FEMA might come in 3 to 5 days. Can you hold out that long? Can your family hold out that long without knowing what happened to you? Can you hold out that long without knowing what happened to your family or your friends? Sir.
Is there a push-to-talk app or something?
There's Teams.
There. What do you mean?
Teams has push-to-talk now.
Microsoft?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, can I break a premise that you have there?
Okay.
Will the push-to-talk app work without cell phone coverage? No network, no nothing. No data, no nothing. That is why I'd argue things like Meshtastic and having your ham license are important. And even if, yeah, right. Have a ham radio in your car. Have a ham shack in your house. That radio that you have, how much?
$30.
On Amazon.
Yep.
Yeah, Baofeng UVR5. Dirty and it gets the job done. Yeah. Point. Actually, an interesting point I don't think a lot of you know. Do you need a ham radio license to listen on ham radio? No. You do not.
Weather radio is fantastic on the hams.
Yeah, weather radio on the... Actually, that's the first thing I do. That is... Yep, that is the first thing I'm doing. If you do not have a ham radio license... Oh, are you playing it?
Tuesday, west winds 5 to 10 knots. Bay and inland waters light chop. Scattered showers with isolated...
Yeah, the NI4CE repeaters actually turn into a Skywarn net telling people where there's lightning strikes, where there's down trees. There's people that, like the NI4CE repeater in Riverview has a bunch of other repeater nets dotted around the Tampa Bay area. I highly encourage you to find out the frequency and listen in on it. Hard program it to your radio. But that, if you just listen to that, there are people constantly calling into that net on what they see, where they are, the water level, the rain level. Is there lightning? Radar, what do you got?
You can also purchase NOAA weather radios specifically for very cheap. Some of them also come with battery banks, flashlights, and other things like that as well, like a crank radio. Yeah. They're super cheap. Pick one up on Amazon for like $15 usually.
Sidebar, I didn't know this until it was already too late. Amazon, whenever a hurricane comes or whenever there's a storm or it's hurricane season, Amazon jacks the prices up on that shit. Yeah, they do.
Dynamic pricing.
Yep, dynamic pricing. Yeah, Amazon will jack the pricing up on that shit.
That's just during the season or right before?
Both.
Nope.
Nope, it's dynamic pricing. So, do you have a communications plan? For my in-laws, if we haven't heard from them in 24 hours and we go over this right before the hurricane, if we don't hear from you in 24 hours, we're coming to you. Stay in your house. We are coming to you. No matter how we've got to get to you, stay in your house. We're coming to you, and then we'll figure out from there. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I mean, it's more we don't want them on the roads coming to us or meeting up with us, but we're coming to them. I'd argue my house is the bigger fortress because I've got more guns. But anyways, but yeah, right. That's another thing. Who has guns? Don't answer that question. Yeah, don't answer that question. If you have guns in the house and you've got to bug out, you've got to leave your house. Are you going to leave those guns? Are you going to leave them in the truck when you're in the shelter? Are you going to carry them with you? Does the shelter allow guns? That's something you, again, go back to your area study and your threat model. Do you have a series of plans like checklisted plans. I have this in my area study with my wife. Plan 1 is we are going to stay here. We're going to stay here in Tampa during the hurricane. This is what we're going to do. Close the windows, lock the garage, do all these things. And you can game plan that before the hurricane comes. So that way that's all orchestrated and all you've got to do is follow the list instead of while you're panicking and pissing your pants. Okay, what do I do? Plan 2 can be, okay, we are going to bug out to somewhere in the state of Florida. We might bug out to Lakeland, to the Russell's house, because they're not getting hurricaned and they live in Lakeland. Okay, what needs to be loaded up in the truck? What do we have? Where is it? Where in the truck is it going to go? How are we going to lock the doors? Go through the list from 1 to item 110. Okay, we're at item 110. We're on the road. We're gone to Lakeland. List 3 might be, okay, we're going to stay with her family in Birmingham. What needs to happen? Who are we going to tell? Say again?
That's a drive.
Yeah, it's 10 hours.
Are you going to have gas to get there?
Yeah, are we going to have gas to get there? Do you have gas already? Do you have gas on standby? How do you know that the gas stations are going to be working? Because what do gas stations need to work? Well, electricity, but also what if the credit card machines are down? Do you have cash? I'm a freaking millennial. I don't carry cash.
Or if you're in the flood, they ran out of gas because 100 other people were ahead of you.
Yeah, or yeah. Did the gas station flood? Did people raid that gas station and buy gas ahead of you and now there's none left?
I just want to make a note while we're talking about those plans. This might sound silly, but I just want to make sure that it's said, when you're making these plans, these need to be written down somewhere. You need to have access to them because, like John was talking about, when a disaster hits, you're going to be in panic mode. It's going to happen. If you have that plan written down and you have that checklist that says I do X, then Y, and this is what then you don't have, that is one less thing you have to think about. You can focus on the dynamically shifting situation as opposed to how do I get the fuck out of my house and to wherever I'm going.
One sec. So who here has homeowners insurance or renter's insurance? Okay, so your house gets fucked out. You now are trying to file a claim with your homeowner's insurance or your renter's insurance, and they say, 50-inch flat screen TV. Prove it. How can you prove it?
That's exactly what I was going to touch on. Do a video and photo catalog of your house in a condition regularly and before you leave. So right before you evacuate, to show that you actually put up shutters, put up some type of deterrent. The house that's in the state as it goes, like when we had to evacuate, I went through and just did a walking tour of my whole house so that if I needed to file an insurance claim, I can show them that this was there, it was in working order. I actually took steps to try to protect the property.
Yep. Because otherwise, if you don't have evidence, and sometimes even if you do have evidence, the insurance company is going to tell you, yeah, happy birthday. The last kind of thing I wanted to touch on, so specialization and economy of scale. It could very well be. So I'm not going to dime out where everybody lives, but there are a couple people in this room who live less than a mile away from me. I know where they live. They know where I live. It could very well be that I'm the food stockpile house. Somebody else is the water stockpile house. And your sole job in life is to, every time you go to BJ's or every time you go to Sam's Club, you're going to get 3 cases of water for 3 families. Your family, Family A, and me. I might be the food family. Anytime I go to BJ's, I'm getting a pallet of SpaghettiOs or ReadyWise food for Family A, Family B, Family C. And then whenever disaster strikes, assuming that it's one of those disasters that we have time to sit down and game plan a couple days before, we load up the trucks, we make the swaps, we turn on our ham nets, we link up, and we hunker down. So with that, I'm going to open the floor to 2 things. One, if you have a way you like to prep, or if you have a manifesto or something you've got to say, come on up and say your piece. B, if you have questions, we're here to answer them. So, anybody want to come up and discuss how they prep? All right, step right up, sir.
3 things I've learned from trial and error. Batteries go bad. Make sure that they're stored. You can actually get little silica packets to help keep moisture out. But, check on your supplies. Don't assume just because you had some stuff a couple years ago that it's still good. time goes by very quickly. Certain MREs, foods, make sure you're checking the dates on those. You don't want to poison yourself in the event that you're having to cook. Water, there's life straws that are pretty cheap that can be used in an emergency for certain things like out of a pond or pool. It's good as a last resort, but water can sometimes be more important than food. You can go a lot longer without food than you can with potable water. And in Florida, when the rain starts falling, weird stuff's in the water. So open water that's out, make sure you're boiling it, cleaning it. If it's something that might be contaminated, don't even risk it. Yeah, right. Brain amoebas from what was that? That was Orlando, right? Where that happened.
The Carly said if I drink it, I'll become Superman.
Where did he go? There.
I'll come around to get in the camera. So this is more of just a general PSA, because there's been some chat about firearms and stuff in the chats as well. You're going to be very stressed in a situation like this if you are not trained and have not done shooting under stress, anything like a competition or anything like that. Maybe do that, put that in your prep plan, because you don't want to be the one that people see as the crazy guy with a gun during a disaster.
That's exactly what I want them to see.
Okay, well, you're different.
Then they won't come to my fucking
But
house.
if you think that you may have to defend yourself in a scenario like this, chances are you're probably going to hit the guy behind them more than anything. So put that into your plan. Get good. You are liable for what happens with something like that you own.
Okay. What else we got? Oh. Hang on.
Any advice on convincing someone that thinks that stockpiling water and some extra food and everything else is a bad idea, because we've never been hit by a hurricane in that area?
I'll tell you what. I'll let somebody else try and answer that question, and then if nobody else wants to answer, I'll answer. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, all you can do is try and show them data, try and show them evidence, and at the end of the day, just like why I think everybody should carry a gun, eventually their ticket's going to get called, they're going to get robbed, or a hurricane's going to come, and then the first thing they're going to do is come to me and ask me, hey, can I borrow a gun, and can you walk me through your CCW class or something, in which case I'll say, yeah, no. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, just like with cybersecurity, there's no pill you can force feed somebody that is going to make them want to prepare the way you want them to prepare. But I'll bet you money that they're going to be giving you a phone call after they get pwned out. So that's...
So suggestions, clues on generator security, because different hurricanes I've been through got the generator out back, always paranoid if somebody's going to come try to take it. What would be the good place, because you can't put it in your house, you can't put it in the garage. So
that's a tough one, especially given that if the power's out and the whole neighborhood's quiet, your generator's real loud.
So I go back to an experience of when I was in middle school, and my dad had like a red trailer in the front yard, and some guy came knocking on the door asking to try and buy the trailer. I'm 8. I'm not going to answer the door for this guy. I just walk away. How about 45 minutes later, he comes in, backs into the driveway, and drives away with my dad's truck. What do? You get the heaviest, thickest chain you can and the best lock you can, and try and chain that thing to whatever's the heaviest thing closest to it. That's the simplest answer.
Did you get your trailer and truck back?
No, my dad actually got pulled over like 2 years later, because his vehicle registration was the wrong color. And he asked the cop, did you find my trailer yet? And he's like, what are you talking about?
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah, so chain your shit down.
Well, and I mean, of course, you can always make the joke of, well, I'll just give you a lead transfusion. Ha, 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 ha. But A, do you keep saying?
You cannot use lethal force to defend property.
Oh, yeah, you can. Yeah, the fuck you can. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can. Oh, yeah, you can.
If someone's trying to do piracy.
Yeah, we'll go over forcible felonies on another point in time, but oh yeah.
The reason why I was allowed to keep a baseball bat in my dorm.
Hold on. So you're not gonna shoot somebody, but you're gonna bludgeon them to death?
I can't have a gun in my dorm.
Oh, that's fair. Well, I mean, do your own risk analysis there, kiddo.
What's the best way and safest way to store gasoline?
Okay, that one. Gasoline. That one I don't know.
There are additives you can put in.
Additives. Here, hang on. Throwing it back to you.
It's actually a really good question because this is something a lot of people don't know. Like gasoline is one of the hardest things for when you're dealing with preparation. You have to use a stabilizing agent. If you go out, you can pick it up at any AutoZone, any type of things. Ask them for gasoline stabilizer. Lowe's I think also carries it, but even when you do that, you still need to make sure and this goes for actually all of your prep supplies. You need to rotate it. It's not a buy once be done. So like my all of my hurricane prep stuff, and my general disaster prep stuff also doubles as a lot of my camping gear. And that's because I go out and do that several times a year. So I know that it's getting used and rotated. But generally with a stabilizing agent, you can keep gas for about 12 months. But yeah, you definitely want to make sure. And then when you're going through as part of your early checklist, as part of your, hey, there's a storm coming, it might hit. You should go check that and make sure that, hey, does my generator fire up? If I gas that thing up, is my gas still good? Those type of things. But yeah, you do need to make sure you're careful with your gasoline storage and make sure you actually are rotating that out.
Now, again, I'm bringing this back to something that the temple is doing. If you want to go shop with somebody who you think knows more than you, again, put your hand up if you think you're reasonably successful with preparing and have a Sam's Club, BJ's, or whatever membership. Okay.
If you don't have the membership, if you use an app called Shipt.
Shipt?
You don't have to pay for the members.
Okay.
You can order from Costco on the app, and they deliver it to your house.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, one more.
Shipt, yeah.
Shipped, okay. Oh, same thing with Sam's? So, Saturday, I'm going to be making a BJ's run. If you live in the northern Pinellas County area, you can use my membership and stock up. And you can, yep, you can use my membership, shop with me, stock up. I'll give you advice whenever. No problem.
Speaking of gas, thinking about is figure out how much gas you need before everything happens, and part of the rotation is have that on hand, because I'm talking about everything else, and everybody's, if you're using a generator, those things are going to use fuel, and depending, yeah. The regular generators are super, super loud. They run full bore. They're going to go through like 5 gallons a day or more kind of thing. I've looked at the inverter generators. They take about 0.8 or a gallon of fuel, and they will run like 12 hours on that much fuel.
I recently tested this. I have an inverter generator.
How was that?
It was 4 gallons a day to run.
4 gallons a day? That's pretty good.
They're basic. It's just a different type of generator, but they're a lot quieter, and the power is actually cleaner. Which they're also a hell of a lot more expensive.
Now,
Market for a generator. Go with the.
Well, hang on. Let me throw this one out there. Do the math on what you are trying to run with your generator. That's a point I want to make. Do the math. If you buy a generator that can only run, somebody give me a number.
1,800 watts.
Yeah, 1,800 watts, and you try and plug in, your dryer, your washing machine, like all this different stuff, you are going to be disappointed. On the other hand, if you pay a crap ton of money for a 3,000 watt generator or something, and you hook up a TV to it and that's it, that's dumb. You wasted money. On the other hand, if you plan out ahead of time what you are trying to run, because let's say you have a crank, let's say you have a whole bunch of battery banks for your phone, because let's game plan out together. I'll tell you what, let's game plan this out together. What do you want to run whenever you don't have power? Okay, so fridge? Okay, why fridge?
A fridge keep my food.
Okay.
The perishables that are in
Okay. Microwave?
Get a smaller fridge. Yeah, I just say be aware big fridges take a lot of power spikes.
Yes.
Will probably overload most generators that you buy that are not fairly high end. Getting a lower honestly, like for our prep, we have sorry. No, so be aware that things like refrigerators, really anything with a compressor, will spike a lot higher than the overall load. So you can overload a generator that way.
What happens if you overload a generator?
They tend to stop working, and fully up to possibly exploding. So something that, and it's kind of a nice to have. It's not like a complete necessity, but I also want to make sure I have ways to keep my food cold. We also, there's medications that we have to keep chilled and things like that. So make sure you're thinking about that, like diabetics, stuff like that. But you can get essentially it's like a powered cooler. And those are fantastic for because they don't take a lot of power. They're designed to run off of an inverter, like in a car or something like that, so they don't spike. And it's a great way to keep a low power option to just keep your food taken care of.
How many people here? Does anybody have a Jackery? It's like a battery bank.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have 4 of them that I keep charged.
Yeah, I mean, I originally bought it for like when I'm out on a shoot, so I can charge batteries and drones and everything. But they can power a lot, you know.
And they're not expensive.
They're not. No, not anymore. Yeah, just like to get, you know, the gas stuff is really.
Yeah. No, and on top of that, figuring out ahead of time what it is you want to throw on your generator, it might make more sense to just get some solar panels. It might make more sense to just get a bunch of batteries. Who here knows what an icy breeze is? It's not just a swamp cooler. So it is actually a mobile air conditioning unit. You pack it's like a cooler, and you can put drinks in it, and you pack it full of ice. It's like $200. You can run it off of, it's got a battery bank that you can run it off of, or you can run it off of your truck or your car, your cigarette lighter. Your car is a resource. You can power stuff off of it. Feed it gas. It's got an alternator. It's got a battery. You can power stuff off of it. My Ram's got a power inverter, so I can do stuff that way. If you've got one of those EVs like the Maverick Lightning or something, you can do it that way. Test out what it is you're going to be running. Of course, the commercials say, yeah, you can power your whole house off of it, and then people actually have to do that, and they realize Ford was lying. But
no.
Yeah, right. I think we'll kill the stream from here with that. I did use Bosch's template thing here. I did keep this just to be a dickhead, but old Bill Will Baggins. So yeah. With that said, we are just getting started on the conversation. So tonight is not just a one-off. This is Prepper Month. And actually, this is the first time we've done Prepper Month the way I want to do it. A, because work's leaving me alone finally. And B, I think we kind of have enough traction for it finally. But yeah, this is just the beginning of Prepper Month. If you want to start doing Sam's Club runs, plan it out. Trey's got a Sam's Club membership. I've got a BJ's membership. Plenty of people here have Costco memberships. Get the community together. You know, light the fires of Gondor. At the end of Prepper Month, whether you're here or you're watching on the stream, there is zero reason why nobody should be prepared at the end of Prepper Month other than you are lazy. One of my favorite scenes from The Sopranos, and I'll end with this, is the wife, Carmela, is talking to a therapist, and she's telling Tony how horrible he is. And she keeps whistling past the graveyard and saying, so what you're saying is I need to be more open. And he's saying, no, you need to get the kids and run. Your husband is a mobster sociopath. And he gives this very long monologue at the end, ending with, don't say you haven't been warned. When I say that, and I end that with our first presentation for Prepper Month tonight, don't say you haven't been warned. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or manifestos, ask me, ask DM, ask Radar, wherever the hell he is. But yeah, let's do this together. So, good job.
It's time.